Hi, everyone. Welcome back to The Other Side of Music. Today, we're interviewing author Laura Langseth. Hi, Laura. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming on here. So, you did an audio book titled, I'm reading it so I don't get it wrong, Four Seasons from Vietnam, Letters from My Father. So, tell us about the book.
Okay, so I'm the narrator. My father is the author. Um, these were letters written. My dad was drafted to Vietnam as a physician at the age of 35. So he had a family at home and was well established with his medical career. And it was quite a surprise, bit of a shock to the family, of course. I was rather young, but do still remember the day the letter came. Um, and just to move it to what prompted the book, but more importantly, what prompted his letters that also my mother saved quite meticulously, was that he made a promise to her he would correspond with her via written word at least 3 times a day. So the audio book that he provided us with is more of journal entries, but daily entries that were at least 3 times a day. As I recall, and
Wow.
I've read the letters many times. There's maybe 1 or 2 days where there's less than three, but that was his goal to always keep in touch with my mom and of course our family as well, by journaling what his experiences were. There's certainly a piece of it that is, there's a bit of a love letter component, but there's also very strong historical component with sharing what was going on during that time while he was there. And it's roughly the entire year of 1968. So it was a year long, and there's about 1,000 letters. And again, it's more journal
Wow.
entries, so they're brief. They've been well edited. There was some redundancy, but even with the editing, it's still, if I recall correctly, like a 6, 7 hour audiobook. And the Four Seasons kind of follow along pretty well. He arrived January, February, so it was like a year that kind of gives that whole, the four seasons, like winter, spring,
Oh,
summer, and fall. Yeah,
that's
it's all
cool.
it's all there. Yeah, yeah. It actually, I found it to be interesting enough. So I think, Robin, you were curious before we had this conversation as to what prompted me. I think what prompted me was two things. One is the fact that my mom saved them so meticulously, and then also that they weren't incredibly personal. I think there was some concern within my greater family, like were these intended to be private, but the fact that she saved them, she herself was a well-educated person, and I think she saw the historical value in having saved them for some purpose. And part of my original idea was to make sure I recorded them in my voice for my children. But then when I discussed the potential for recordings, I met one of the people involved with this project, Douglas Jaffe, and he said, "There's more here than just recording for your family. This may be a meaningful audiobook to others." So that's what compelled me to go as far as I have with this whole project, and to have it available for others to listen to. There's also music included with it, so I like that this is, a musical kind of podcast that you have, or Facebook, discussion, because my father's love of music and my mother's love of music, that's included in the book for sure. He had
Okay.
certain songs he liked, and so there's the background. I'll let you ask questions if you'd like, or I can keep talking.
Well, what kind of music is included?
Well, my parents were members of they had season tickets to the symphony in Duluth, Minnesota. So
Okay.
there's some classical for sure. There's some other music, that was a little bit more contemporary, and I don't know that it's necessarily included in the book, but certain songs, there was a song, I think it was actually Nancy Sinatra, that was actually, she would tour in Vietnam to try to bring joy to the the troops there and do like the USO kind of thing. And the song My Buddy was an important song for him. I don't know that it's included in the book just because the copyrights are quite costly, but I'm happy to share that's the kind of music. There's some classical pieces that I recall him enjoying, but the Nancy Sinatra My Buddy, um, little anecdotal things to share is my dad would whistle all the time, and my mom would say he's whistling my buddy. And to be honest, it never made sense to me till I read the letters and understood that that was important to him. I mean, he was whistling that until basically his declining years. So yeah, it's kind of a family history thing. It's also a very Vietnam history thing, and then kind of a doctor, like what is your career like when you choose to be a physician and suddenly you're drafted to Vietnam, and how do you continue that caring career in a way where you're in the middle of a war zone?
Okay. Now, where can people find your book,
Well,
your audiobook?
the good news is it's on any audio platform, and I think it's mostly
Nice.
free. To be honest, if you're already on an audio platform and you'd like to listen, I'm finding people enjoy it when they go on road trips because it's long, and of course it's my voice the whole
Yeah.
time. Oh, the interesting thing though too, it also includes the back in the day during the Vietnam era, there were still reel to reel little audio tapes that they could send back and forth. So my mom had preserved the last two. So it was the last one she received. And then also, he must have sent home one because I know they weren't allowed to save a lot of things. Like a lot of letters were intended to be destroyed that were sent. But the last tape she
Okay.
sent to my father is also included, so you can actually hear their voices as part of the audiobook. And I think that adds quite a bit as well.
Cool. Yeah, that is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. So, how did your dad, being a physician in Vietnam, like you said, like he had a family, he was well established, had a well established practice, and then all of a sudden he had to go. Like, what kind of how did that affect you,
Yeah.
your
Uh,
family?
Yeah, I'll share two pieces of that. One is he had joined a family practice group in Duluth, and it was an older physician that was looking for someone like my father to join. And there was a lot of support offered by that family. In my father's absence, I think there was an effort, well, I know there was, my mother would share that, an effort to make sure there was income coming, not just his military income, so that the family was supported.
Hmm.
We had a lovely network of neighbors that were looking after us. I realized looking back and going through the letters that that was a lot for my mom to have to really navigate three children on her own, and I was certainly a rambunctious one. I think that was a challenge for her, but family and friends were supportive. But kind of going back to my dad's experience, which is really shared well in the letters, he, even as he was on the boat, and if I'm not mistaken, it was several days to get to Vietnam from California. Um, he talked about looking forward to being there and what was needed. He was a very purpose driven man. And I think he was also resilient and accepted. Not initially, he did not want to be drafted to Vietnam, but he was resilient and realized that there was work to be done. And again, in reading the letters and seeing it from his lens, he was um, he was sadly most gratified when he had purpose. There were times when there wasn't there wasn't a lot going on in terms of his
Hmm.
care and needing to be an actual physician. Um, the communities nearby, there was a lot of Vietnamese families nearby that would need the care, and that's in the book as well. But not that anyone would wish for casualties, but that's when you felt most needed. So there's a piece of that, and he found great friendships with the other physicians that were there, and that's a big part of the letters in the book, how they would support one another and talk about in the letter talking about different things that had occurred with different patients, whether it was the troops who were sacrificing so much, and then even the locals and the things they were going through as well with needing to have a cesarean section kind of thing. So he was needed, and that brought purpose to him being there for sure.
All right. Now, if you had to pick a dish or maybe a specific kind of food that gives you like, like they call it comfort food, what would do you have a dish that's like comfort food for you that came from during this time?
Um, That's a really good question. I would say that the food that he talked about that he was most excited about is he he loved having fresh lobster with butter, and he talked about that being delicious in Vietnam. And I also recall growing up, and these are interesting things just to share something very personal. Knowing his love of lobster and enjoying that with my mom, I realize now where it came from. And I had not realized that without having read the letters. So that's one thing. And then
Ah,
he also, another comfort food was clam chowder for some reason. I think that it kind of came from it was something my parents enjoyed prior to my dad being drafted, but then being in a
mhm.
setting where there was the sea nearby, and lobster was available, and there was an opportunity for clams. So I think that's my comfort food, and knowing how much he enjoyed that. Yeah, those two things. Good question. Thank you for asking that. Because food was a big
You're
deal.
welcome.
There's a lot in the letters about food, and it's not all. I'm not saying it's
Oh,
bad, but
really?
it just well because I think trying to normalize this is what I had today for breakfast. This is what I ate for lunch. Again, there's a bit of a journal piece with lots of truly incredibly interesting historical things woven into all that. But just the desire of him to journal every day, 3 times a day. There's certainly a piece of that in all the letters too.
That's amazing. 3 times a day, every day.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
he was incredibly dedicated to it for sure.
All right. So, sorry. Um, now, what are you hoping this book will? How do I want to word it? What are you hoping people will gain from the audiobook? Like,
Yeah, another good question. I think that I've learned a lot with just kind of networking with people. I'm finding I live in Minnesota, and there's a large Hmong culture that is really excited, and it's growing enthusiasm for the book because he shares positive things about the Vietnamese
mhm,
people and wanting to be there to support the cause. Interestingly enough, the veterans themselves often I'm finding, and I've networked a bit with some veterans organizations because we want to donate proceeds for sure to disabled American
mhm,
veterans. Um, Not all of them really want to revisit that experience and be part of hearing
okay,
that over again. So I think wherever it resonates, whether it's with the Hmong or Vietnamese culture or veterans who do find some comfort in hearing a story that has a little bit of a, and I'm not saying it's all positive, to be clear, but his resilience
You're
and
right.
his desire. The one thing I'll share that I think was the most important to me personally, and I think it's helpful for anyone who was impacted by the Vietnam War, is know that there are physicians that were there that were, and it's in the book, that were really going above and beyond to make sure all the soldiers with all their gruesome injuries were treated with great dignity and care with the physicians that were in those MASH units. And that actually brought comfort to me. I mean, they'd come in, some of it was just sheer terror. They maybe weren't injured, but there was terror just from being part of a war that was really traumatizing and scary. But many came in with really
Hmm.
brutal injuries. But just knowing that, I think, as you asked me what I think this book would mean to people, I think that's meaningful to know the interactions of these physicians and their really true desire and purpose to be helpful in a situation where they didn't really want to be there either. But I gleaned that from this book, and I think that's really meaningful for families to hear that there was a great deal of compassion and support for the wounded individuals, including those that didn't make it home, sadly.
Hmm. Okay. Well, yeah, that's a good point. People even now, it's helpful to hear that.
I would think
That
so.
yeah, that they weren't there. I mean, they know they're not there alone, but that they had compassionate
Yeah,
people and all working
yeah.
together.
And that they were heroes. The whole welcome home thing. It's another thing I kind of gleaned from the letters is that I see that my father had a welcome home, and I've learned that it's really important for Vietnam veterans that you encounter, and they're aging, of course. But just being able to say thank you for your service and welcome home. I'm glad you made it home. And I haven't met a veteran yet that I've said that to that didn't really pause and say thank you because they didn't get a welcome home. So there's kind of a piece of that patriotism that's expressed that these people, primarily men, of course the nurses were phenomenal, and there's a lovely book out about that piece, historical fiction. I like that this is nonfiction, but I like that there's compassion. There's a piece of that in this book too, and I think that's really important. And it changed my dad's life in a way. He shared that he didn't have a day that he didn't think about Vietnam, but it also allowed him to have some conversations, what he thought his end of life might look like and what he'd want. And I won't share more than that because I want to keep private, but it allowed him to talk
Right.
about, dying in the process. And I think that's important to me as a daughter, but important for others to kind of hear too, that it 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 was part of the process for my dad.
Okay. Um. Now, do you? So I don't know how audiobook. I mean, I know how audiobooks work, but like, do you go on tour or anything for like a meet and greet or?
I haven't done that yet. I'm in the process. I did a little meet and greet at the local veterans hall here where I live in Minnesota,
Mhm.
and that was very meaningful. So there's a piece of that. I think I might do more, but we're just really getting started.
Mhm.
So thank you for inviting me to be part of this to kind of get the word out. But yeah, I think
Absolutely.
that particular meet and greet that I was invited to was really meaningful, and I back to me sharing that not all veterans want to talk about Vietnam, but this was a group that really wanted to. So it was very meaningful, and they were so
Mhm.
welcoming of me, just knowing I was a veteran's daughter. I felt part of their family. So yes, there'll be more opportunities for that, I'm sure, going forward, and I'd be happy to do so if anyone's interested.
Now, how long has this book been out?
Oh my goodness, it kind of was like a soft release just to kind of get things rolling, like in June or July ish, I think. but nothing really. It was a bigger once we got the publicity piece going. It's only been within the last couple months.
Oh, okay.
So it's been released. It's
So
been
is
out there,
there?
but not really promoted, I should say. You're one of
Okay.
the two or three that have, expressed an interest in interviewing me. So it's a little bit fresh in that regard. And I kind of like the timing because, with the seasons changing and all that, this is kind of the perfect time to pick it up because it starts kind of right now in the book too. So the timing accidentally worked out well. It wouldn't matter either way, but it worked out well.
Very nice. I like that I'm one of the pieces. Thank you.
You definitely are. Thank you. I really appreciate it, Robin.
Absolutely. Now, is there a website or anything or social media for you or the audiobook?
There is not. I'm not that savvy, but I do think if you just want to Google letters from Vietnam and then my name Laura Langseth, that'll link you to all kinds of things. I would also like to share. I think it's really important, and I don't want to be amiss and forget all the people who have supported the project. But I'm going to give a bigger a bigger shout out to Jordan Sundberg with Tin Cup Designs. She's someone from Duluth, and that's where my dad was practicing. And she has
Hmm.
supported the artwork, and it's very Duluth centric, but it fits the book. So there's lovely prints associated with that. And again, not minimizing all the other people. Center Sound Studios, you, Doug Jaffe, I already mentioned. Owen, who's part of Sartori, who's part of a recording studio in the Minneapolis area where I am now. There's so many people involved, but I think since you're asking about how to look up the book, you'll see the artwork and know that that's very near and dear to my heart and also would be to my father. And then Jordan took a special interest in him being a Vietnam vet and knowing some vets in the Duluth area. So the artwork's a big part of what feels special to me as I look to promote the book.
Okay. Well, yes. They'll, when I post the videos, it has captions, so
Okay.
people will be able to see all the names and everything.
Yeah, Crystal
Um,
will help with that because Crystal coordinated this. And Crystal, I already asked her about it because I said, I don't know everyone's names. I mean, not that I could roll off my tongue. I know their names, but it would take forever. So yes, if you can get with Crystal to get all that information so I don't miss anything and get in trouble with any of my people.
oh yeah, no, they understand. You can't list everybody
Right, right.
during an interview.
Yes, no, no,
So,
no. But yeah.
no, no, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say because if people do look it up to find the book, they'll see the artwork, and I wanted them to have the background of how important that was to be part of the book because it had a piece of one of the one that meant the most to me is that there's little lights on a beach, and I see that as the soldiers, and the beach actually is from Duluth, but it's sort of like the fallen soldiers, and then in the book my father's love, and this has endured in our family, and now I know why it's endured because I read the letters, but his love of the stars and constellations. So to have that be part of the artwork and she didn't create it, it's one of her pieces she already had, so it was really meaningful, and it's actually a beach in Duluth, and if you look, you can see the aerial lift bridge. So anyway, that's why I wanted to really accentuate that.
So
Sorry for
sorry.
you. I'm sorry
That's
too for
awesome.
you. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
it
what?
is.
So when you okay, so when you saw all the letters, like how did you? Okay, so when you first read all the letters, did you know kind of then that you were going to do this audiobook, or was it a sort of a long process to get to this point?
I knew immediately upon the letters becoming in my possession that I needed to record these. I'm I'm old enough but yet young enough to know that if they're not digitally recorded, they will disintegrate. They're on that real thin onion paper, if you can picture that.
Oh,
Really onion skin type thin paper. And I knew that I wanted to do more to preserve them because my mother had cared for them for so long. And I think I have no doubt that she would be very happy, as would be my father, that they're being preserved in a way that at the very least our family has the opportunity to hear his words, and then hear their voices in those brief tapes. And just the whole experience is preserved in a way that it will carry on like in perpetuity instead of disintegrating. So I knew that from the very beginning. And that was shortly after my mom's death. My dad preceded my mom in death. And then the letters became, available. And then the other reason I wanted to do it was to, oh no, that's not what I was going to say. The concern and the time that it took, because I've had them for about 10 years now. The time that it took was
okay.
I would talk to people. Sorry, hopefully you can edit this. The time that it took,
It's totally fine.
it's free thinking. Okay, so anyway, the time that it took, I would talk to people and say, I have these letters. I love these letters. And that's where Douglas Jaffe came in, because he said, well, let's make this happen. And I've been telling people for a long time, because the enormity of it, like, do I have to retype them because they're really hard to read? They wouldn't really go well in a book. Like, even if we copied each letter, he was a physician, so his writing, you basically have to be a family member or a nurse or another colleague that worked with him to be able to read his writing. So there was a lot of, there was some challenges there. So recording them seemed to make the most sense. And that took a while just to find the perfect fit, and that's how it happened. So I'd
Okay.
been thinking about it from the very beginning, but it took about a good 5-10 years for sure.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, to
Long
make it
project. It
happen.
sounds like it has a. Yeah. And then how long did it take to record everything?
That probably took each month, so there's 12 months. Each month took at least 3 hours.
Okay.
So I'm not good with math, but those were long studio sessions. And
Yeah,
some
I would
things,
imagine.
even though I had read them, because I did what I needed to do, because I wanted to save the onion skin letters because of their beautiful value and how lovely it is. So I bought a copier and copied every letter. So that, not recording piece, but that took about, oh my gosh, that easily took 3 weekends of doing it 8 hours each day just to get them copied. So then I could edit them, because I didn't want to edit and write anything on the originals. So that's another good question. That took a long time. And then the editing began. And then actually bringing the letters and doing the recording occurred after that. And I learned a lot about being a recording artist, even though it's an audiobook.
Okay.
Um, I learned a lot, and I attribute a great deal of that to Owen, again, Sartori, who is he was the engineer who helped with the recordings here in Minneapolis. Not that Craig Brandwein, who's wonderful, and Doug weren't helpful, but the thrust of them was here in Minneapolis to make it convenient for me. And he had so many good suggestions in helping with like inflections and maybe what to add, what to, maybe edit a little bit or include things. And he was especially supportive. And again, everyone's been supportive in a big way, but in the context of that piece of it, he was a really supportive person, like, yeah, helping me with that. So I've learned how to be a better, I think I've been a decent in-person speaker, but reading letters, I got better at that. I had a coach.
Oh, well, good. Well, well, that'll prepare you for your meet and greets in the future.
Yeah, I hope so. I look forward to those. Those are always enjoyable, and I do see, after being at the one here locally, just that I informally was included in a different speaker's talk, but the fact that people were so excited to talk with me was really meaningful. People want to hear kind of a positive story about a hard time. in
Now,
our.
would you ever? Oh, sorry.
No,
Now, would you ever consider going over to Vietnam to like
two.
visit where your dad
Yeah, two things
was?
I really. You asked the best questions. Seriously, two
Thank
things,
you.
Robin, that I really want to do. Well, I don't want to give away the ending of the book, but it's okay to say this because it's not really a
Okay.
giveaway because there's so much. No, but he said he would like to go back
Mhm.
someday. He said to my mom, it's a really beautiful country. And I love that it kind of ends there. He never went back.
Okay.
So I am very interested in doing that. And the other thing, I think it's okay to share because it's not giving away anything in the book, but you'll understand the the prop, just how he talks about this. He was terrified. He became a Green
Mhm.
Beret, but he was never going to jump out of a plane. So I absolutely want to jump out of a plane on his behalf, and I'm hoping a Green Beret will accompany me. So that would be one thing I'd like from this book.
Wow.
If there's some Green Beret out there who would like to have a little old lady attached to him or her to jump out of a plane, he was just too terrified. So you're so funny. You really ask good questions. So those are the two things. Yes, I would very much like to go to Vietnam and be near Chu Lai, where he spent the bulk of his service, and see what he saw, and then jump out of a plane for him. He never did, and
Wow.
I want to do that for him. Great question. No
That's
one's asked me
awesome.
that before. You're very good at what you
Oh,
do.
good. Oh, thank you.
Hmm.
Um, a little side note. I've had friends, um, and some of them I still have, but they would be like, "You ask so many questions." I'm like, "I
Oh,
like to know things." So doing this podcast, I I guess, kind of fell into my groove there. I can
yeah, you
ask
did.
questions and no one gets
No,
annoyed.
no, you're asking really good ones. And again, I'm not,
Thank you.
the book and the sales aren't the thrust of what I'm doing, but I do like to have a little bit of a nuance of wanting people who are interested to know that there's more than what we're sharing today. Again, it's not about big book
Okay.
sales, but it's about, there's a lot in there. I'm just sharing little snippets along the line that are really meaningful to me. But there's so much in
Mhm.
there. Yeah.
That's cool. I'll have to look it up. Um, and I am sure you can find a Green Beret that will jump out of a plane with you.
I'm going to do my
Um,
best.
that's impressive. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
that's
not.
impressive to me. I have no desire to ever jump out of a plane. Heights aren't my thing, but
Yeah, I do.
good for
Side note, I hike the Grand Canyon, and I'm someone who's timid about going up steep stairs, but I hike the Grand Canyon with
you. Hmm.
no trouble, like no fear of heights. And I've always wanted to kind of
Wow.
skydive. So after reading the letters and seeing that that was something that he didn't miss because he didn't want to do it, but I think that he'd be like, hats off to you, daughter. Well done. Yeah, I'd do it for
Yeah,
him. He had too much riding.
definitely.
He wanted to come home alive. He didn't want to take any undue risks, but I'd take the risk for him just to say, check that box, Dad. We did it. Hmm.
Oh, wow, that's impressive. Make sure you record that when you do it.
Oh yeah, good point. I will.
So
Thank you for you're saying it out loud. You're affirming it. You think I'm going to do it? Okay. I just got to find that green beret.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I've never looked for a Green Beret, but my guess is once you get started, it won't be too hard.
Yeah, no, I think so.
I believe.
Especially
I don't know.
someone like you asking if that's part of what I'd like to do. I think just randomly, I remember vividly that Jenna Bush Hager with, I think she's with NBC. She wanted to jump out of a plane to honor her grandfather. So there was an Air Force person, or maybe it was naval. I don't remember, but someone helped her. It was a service person who helped her do it. And I thought, oh, I wonder if I could find someone like that. So it happens.
Yeah.
So once the word gets out, maybe someone will find me.
There you go. I think it'll happen. You seem
Nice.
like that kind of person.
Well, I'd like it to. I really would. Yeah, I'm prepared for it.
Well, good. Is there anything else you would like to add about the book, or um, what people should? Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Um, no. The only thing I can think of is, again, I think it's like honestly free on most audio platforms. So it's one to just, if you're already part of, signed up for audiobooks or podcast kind of stuff, I
Hmm.
think it's free. So I don't think you'd regret listening. And then I just really do want to thank people like, including you now, Robin, and the others who have been so kind to help
Thank you.
me kind of get this out there in a way that might be meaningful to people. So please make sure you include all those credits to the people at the end of this that I've forgotten their names.
I will. I'll ask.
Crystal.
I'm sorry. Her name again is Crystal.
Crystal, she's the
Um,
publicist. She has them all, so she
yeah,
should
I'll
be able
I'll
to.
email her.
Perfect, and she can get you the list to add. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Really nice to meet
and then
you.
nice to meet you too. Um, this has been very interesting. I
Thank
believe you're
you.
my first author or audiobook person
Yeah.
that I've interviewed. I like talking to everybody, so it's
Yeah, did I do okay? Was it okay?
you did wonderfully.
Okay, thank you.
I found it very interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Well,
it's something I know very
awesome.
well, so it's easy to talk about. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. And so I'm gonna, when I end the video, just stay on for a few minutes and I'll tell you about how I'll send the video and stuff to
So I'll hang on.
listeners.
Okay.
Crystal.
I won't log off too
Yeah.
quick. Okay.
So yeah.
Thank
So
you.
thank you for being on
Thank
here.
you.
And I hope everyone listening to this podcast enjoyed it as much as I did.
Thank you
Have
so
a
much.
great day.
You too.